Money, finances, and how that ties into your overall health this week on the show. I'm Bobby DeMuro, and you're tuned in to A Helthier Charlotte. Money can be a great source of opportunity, but it can also bring stress. And this week on A Helthier Charlotte, we'll explore that with a panel of guests who provide unique insight into financial health, money, and how that ties into your overall well-being. Let's meet the panel. First, to the far end of the table, John Davis, the founder of Elements to Lead. John, welcome back to the show.
All right. Good to see you, Bobby.
Next to him is Mark Brunage. He is the co-founder of Tycoon, which we'll talk about today, is a company that teaches fiscal responsibility to children.
Thank you.
Next to him, is Courtney Wardell. She's the VP of Operations for CharlotteSmartyPants.com.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. And sitting right next to me is Dr. Frank Gaskill, who is a psychologist at Southeast Psych. And I think, Dr. Gaskill, you're probably the 15th Southeast Psych person we've had on the show. So
I believe it. I appreciate
welcome.
it.
It's not indicative of you being last on the show that we like you any less than
That's
anybody
fantastic.
else. So let's frame the issue, because I think a lot of people, when we talk about financial health, don't necessarily tie it into mental health, physical health, overall well-being, stuff like that. For both children and adults, we are maybe more tied into financial health than we realize. So let's frame it. I guess, Mark, to start with you, because Tycoon does this a little bit. What are some of the factors that finances have on health?
Well, to be honest with you, like the way we approach financial health is we use technology solutions, applications, online applications. We let families tie them into their daily lives. So we deliver a solution called Tycoon that helps families teach kids about earning, saving, giving, and spending. So that balance, right, when money comes in and we allocate money towards a savings account or a charity before we think about spending, provides, I think, a level of health and positive kind of, family feeling. So I think that we start with that, but we use technology to allow families to do that where they want to do it. So on the iPhone or on a Droid device or on an iPad or on their computer. So it's about connecting families to make it easy, and then providing that balance to kind of create what I would call health, fiscal health, maybe hopefully emotional and mental health as well.
Well, and tie that together, Dr. Gaskill, because I think fiscal health is tied to emotional health and well-being. Whether it's in patients or people you see, how do we quantify the relationship between the two?
Well, as of late, especially since the economic difficulties we've had, seeing these families coming in under much greater stress than I've seen in the past. And dad's stressed about whether he's going to lose his job, mom trying to make ends meet, dual income families. Sometimes now we've gone to one income families, dealing with the schools. How do we keep the child in a private school versus not? And the kids don't know how to make sense of that. So I'm seeing anxiety, I'm seeing stress, and marital difficulties, people struggling with how to deal with that. And we were talking earlier about how Tycoon and how to connect families with each other and sort of build a way that they can bring their financial houses in order. But also, how can you kind of communicate to children and getting parents to communicate to kids the value of money so that it doesn't become this central focus that we're just all bowing down to money. There's much more to life than just money.
Let's talk about that communication with you, Courtney, because Charlotte Smarty Pants does pretty much everything under the sun related to families.
Right.
And this is part of it. How do you see financial anxiety, monetary anxiety tied into family health and well-being? And maybe what can we do to separate the two or just make them work better together?
I think from the family standpoint, what we're seeing is children coming home and one of their friends has moved away because dad has had to take a job or hasn't been able to find a job to stay here, or mom has stopped working, so after school activities are gone, whatever it is. But I think as families, the way that we can address that is in support of each other. Doing more things on the weekends where you're bringing families together, commingling with the meals, everybody bring a piece, bringing back basic game nights. Not everything has to cost money, and if families support each other in that and your children see that, then I think the stress level goes down because kids can still be kids, and mom and dad get the support from other moms and dads knowing that everyone's in this together. We're all in the same boat. So let's just help each other keep moving forward and keep joy in our lives by getting back to some of the simple things.
And that idea of simple things, John, this is right up your alley. This is kind of a softball to you. But how, we don't need to be an anti-capitalistic society to understand how money works in our life. But how do we, as a society, as a culture, or maybe even as an individual, tie back into simplify, to understand that, profit isn't the be all and end all. It just needs to be a part of our lives.
Sure. No, it's a very good point, and I think that's part of the issue we've had in the most recent financial crisis really is that it's very easy to get caught up in this game of comparison and looking at what other people have. And instead, like you were just saying, let's have joy and meaning in what we do have, and let's find ways more in our work and our home lives to bring more purpose to what we do. And the examples I use, there's a company, Zappos. Well, they sell online shoes, but their goal really is to deliver happiness to their customers, and they look at their workplace as a area to build the lives of the people and have a learning organization. And how can you then connect struggles that we've had in the workplace? Timberland is one of my favorite stories about this. Timberland takes 200 sales reps down to New Orleans to help rebuild part of the city after Katrina. And they hadn't seen enough, so one of the VPs took them over to the Ninth Ward. And there was somebody trying to put together a community shelter. And this particular individual said their biggest issue is they needed shoes. Here's 200 sales reps. So you have one sales rep who takes his shoes off, gives them to the individual, goes back on the bus, and everyone says, hey, where are your shoes? And he says, like, this guy needed shoes. I gave them to him. Next thing you know, 200 sales reps get off the bus, give these guys his shoes. They go back to the hotel. There's so many wins that happen in that. They're forever changed as they're connected in the workplace. People in the hotel are crying, asking what they can do to help. So I think the positive is that we're connected with struggle, and that really can bring more purpose to what we do.
I think that's a good point in understanding maybe personal self-worth isn't necessarily tied to money. Dr. Gaskill, do you see a lot of people who are financially, stressed? Is this a big stressor? Has a large impact on mental health?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been in practice since I guess the late '90s, and it's been really interesting. If you guys have seen this, how I've seen this me, Charlotte, money, material, just balloon through the 90s and 2000, and then when we had this crash, just tremendous humbling in communities in my neighborhood, seeing 12 houses go up immediately and homes go into foreclosure. It's a very humbling experience. And more of late, I'm hearing more of these themes of families saying, well, how do we get joy rather than from the stuff around us, than from the experiences that we can have together? And it's good to see, but it's come at a lot of pain, which maybe we needed.
Well, and talking about that pain, Mark, was Tycoon, when you guys founded this, did the financial crisis have any impact, or was this something separate that you were just interested in kids learning about finances?
No, it did. The real impetus was actually, I'm a dad, so I have two sons. My co-founder, Doug Lebda, who also started Lending Tree, which is a model that helped families get access to loans and mortgages in a more competitive way. He has kids. So we were watching our kids online on the internet, and we were also asking ourselves, like, how do we convey a new set of financial values that help us and our kids avoid that notion of the correction, the crisis, 2008. So very much so, yeah. I mean, we started this literally less than a year ago, and we think it's a good time to start it because kids are sensitive to this. Like, parents do come home and talk about the stressors of money and job changes and unemployment. And so kids are aware of that. And so we think, again, by creating a balanced, kind of controlled space and using technology to do that, which really engages kids, you create a positive learning environment. Financial literacy becomes kind of part of a positive experience versus, oh my gosh, what just happened? Mm-hmm. How do we fix this problem? So we're hoping to empower kids with technology and parents. This Tycoon is a solution, a platform for families, not just kids, but for kids and parents. So.
Well, and talking about families, Courtney, we'll talk about solutions more in the second half, but right now, do you think there's a need that families need to be more aware of how finances play a role in their overall life? And if so, what do we do about it? What's the first step to take to be more aware?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been so easy in the past to be in Target, to go wherever and your child go up, oh, I want this. Oh, okay, throw it in the cart. But it's so much more beneficial to take a step back and go, is that something you really need? Or is it something you really want? Let's start the discussion there. And going back to, do we need a bigger house, or are we fine where we are? what's more important? Is it more important for us to provide piano lessons to a child that seems to be musically gifted, or is it to go buy a new rug for the dining room? Let's, as a family, decide what our priorities are going to be. And I think the financial crisis has played a big role in that, because you're having to do, people are figuring out how to do more with less, or figuring out that less is more.
Right.
It's okay not to have all of the flash and the bling. It's okay for me to drive my Odyssey minivan with 150,000 miles on it, because guess what? It gets us where we're going. And that's okay. And guess what? There are 20 more in carpool line also.
Right.
It's all good. And I think our kids are seeing not everything has to be new. Not everything has to be flashy. And it's okay. You know, it's okay to get hand-me-downs, but it's also even better to know the value of what that hand-me-down is. And for my youngest to be able to go, I can't wear this anymore, Mom. Who can I give it to that can wear it? And it cycles down. And that's also what I like about Tycoon is there is a save component and there is a giving component. And it creates a situation that's not about me. It's I can earn, I can save, and I can give. And that is much more balanced. And I think as families, when we were in the heyday, it was so easy to go, yes, we're going to do this. Totally threw our families out of balance. I think now we're balancing ourselves again and really looking at what's important in our lives.
Good point. We'll talk more about financial health in a minute, but first, next up, we went to Evolution Fitness here in South End in Charlotte, and we provided you some good training and exercise segments. Stay with us for that. I'm out here at Evolution Fitness, Yoga, and Martial Arts, and we are on the strength training floor right now, and we're talking about weightlifting here with Julie, who's a certified personal trainer, and her client, Jay. And she's going to run through a couple exercises, but Julie, first off, what are some of the benefits of strength training? Because I think a lot of women might be scared of it, but it is good for you.
Well, yeah, you're not going to bulk up. A lot of women are scared about that, but you're actually putting on lean muscle, and muscle is actually more efficient at burning fat. So you really do want to incorporate that into your cardio as well. So. And
when we're talking about strength training, a big concern is injury prevention and not getting hurt.
Absolutely.
And using a certified personal trainer is a great way to do it. But if you don't have one, there are ways that you can get around it and still be safe, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Just lifting the right weight is very important. So just watching how much you lift and proper form.
Well, let's talk about form. You've got a couple exercises for us. Run us through some of the stuff that people can do.
Okay, we're going to start out. Jay's going to show us just a two-arm lift, working the biceps, triceps, chest, and back. So he's actually going to pull his feet together, keep a slight bend in the knees, and just lifting 2 arms right in front.
And his core is tight. Everything's tight.
He is, yeah. Hips are tucked under, which engages the core.
And he's working pretty much the entire arm, entire upper body.
Absolutely. Biceps, triceps, a little bit of the back and chest.
And my other question is breathing. When should you breathe when you're weightlifting?
Absolutely. You want to inhale as you're bringing it down. Exhale at the hard parts. So exhale as you're lifting. Right there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Let's run through another one. What's the next one?
We've got another one. We're going to add the core. So dropping one down. We're going to take 2 hands over here on this side, and we're just going to kind of lift. So this is also working the shoulders as well. So with the rotation, you're getting the core in there.
And we were talking off camera that I can make a golf joke when we were talking about this exercise.
Yeah.
But it is good for your core, it's good for your hips and everything, and your power in the middle of your body.
Yeah, this equipment, whether you're looking to rehabilitate from an injury or you're looking for sports-specific type training, you're going to get that with this type of equipment.
And what about a third one? What's something maybe to incorporate the legs a little bit?
Yeah, we're going to incorporate the legs. Taking both handles, we're going to add a squat. So Jay's going to kind of squat, take those handles up, and press up. Actually, keep them right there, Jay.
He's a little
right
tall.
And tight, yeah. All right, taking it down and coming up. Yeah.
But he can use this with dumbbells too. You can do the same thing with
Absolutely.
dumbbells.
Any free weights that you might have access to at home, you can use those as well.
So we're working him hard. Let's give him a break.
Yeah,
He can take a second off. So I guess the last thing, is there a magic number of times a week you should be weightlifting? Do you do it every day? Do you do it a couple times a week?
If you're just starting out, I'd say maybe 2-3 times a week. Don't jump into a full, that could lead to injury. So 2, maybe 3 times a week.
Cool.
Starting out.
Jay's breathing hard, so let's cut him a break.
Yeah.
Out here at Evolution Fitness, Yoga, and Martial Arts, I'm Bobby DeMuro. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back into our discussion on financial health here on A Healthier Charlotte with our guest panel. And first, we've talked about Tycoon a little bit, Mark, but let's expand a little bit more.
Sure.
What do you guys seek to do? What can a family do on there?
Yeah, so a family can basically set up the kind of what we call the money model. So money model is, in our family, when we earn money, we put 20% into the savings bucket, 20% into the give bucket, and then the other 60% goes into that spend bucket. So we're allowing parents and kids to sit down in front of a computer, in front of an iPad or a tablet, and really look at like what that means, real numbers. And then from there, kids set up allowance and chore kind of, based on each family. Every family's different. So what we say is, here's a way to kind of manage chores, manage allowance, manage special projects in the house. And then the family really uses it as they kind of operate in their family. And we deliver that experience where they want it, meaning if that's on the iPhone waiting in carpool line at school, mom can say, yes, both my son and daughter have done their chores this week. The kids, when they come home from school after they've done their homework, will go on either through the tablet or through the computer on a browser and say yes. So that allows us to create what I call like a balanced money model, where when that money comes in on Sunday night, when allowance is paid through Tycoon, that money goes into the save bucket, into the give bucket, and the spend bucket. And then we've connected to real charities for real giving, and we've connected, we're powered by Amazon, so kids can find kid-safe stuff, content, through the Amazon store and actually use that and see the results of their labor and spend money in a real way. So we like to do it, as you say, by empowering families with technology and making it extensible and flexible. So as each family is different, they have different values, they can use our platform to pass those values on, and they'll let their kids learn through experience and use.
And, Dr. Gaskill, I'm not that old, I'm 25. But, I never grew up with anything like this. Whether it's digital or not, there were no sort of financial tools. What's the
Right.
value in something like this?
Well, I'm thrilled to be a part of Tycoon. I'm Southeast Psych, but Mark brought me into Tycoon, and I'm so excited about it. I'm pro video game. I'm pro gaming. I'm pro social media, and that's how kids are learning. We were talking earlier about kids going to a bank with a little passbook and paper and pencil, and here's your $20. That doesn't happen anymore, and that's not how kids learn. Kids are learning strategy and team building and leadership, and this is another way that kids can learn. But there's nothing out there to teach kids about finance. This is a visual, hands-on, almost gaming-type social platform that allows families to come together and teach these valuable lessons. I ultimately, I want Tycoon to be able to allow kids to learn the art of negotiating. Babysitter job comes through that's approved by parents, and my daughter Olivia could say, "Oh, I'll take that job," and the neighbor says, "Well, how about for $20 Friday night?" And she says, "Well, it's Friday night. How about 25?" I was not taught that. I didn't know what mortgage interest was until I was an adult, and kids need to learn. This is a great platform for them to do it.
So, Courtney, where does a platform like this go, assuming it'll be successful, which we hope it will be?
Yeah.
Where does a platform like this go in 10 years? I mean, are we creating a generation of kids who are going to be smarter about money?
Yes, and that's, we were having a big conversation about this, and I think that there has been a gap. I think the big boom created the entitlement generation. They graduated from college and thought they were going to go out and have these very high-paying jobs, and they make all this money, but then they didn't know what to do with it. So you see all these big, fast cars, and you see, well, that's all gone away, and a lot of those folks don't have jobs right now, and, they have expensive cars that are paid for, but they can't afford to put the gas in them. I think this gives our kids a reality and a balance, and it lets the families play a role in that. It lets us work with our kids to create realistic expectations and put a value on work that's visual and at their fingertips. Mom, I just made up my bed and cleaned up my bathroom. Check it off. And that chore was worth $1. Look at where that went. But it also gives them the power to make their own choices. With their spend, they can choose what they want to buy with that and make that choice. And with the donation side, where they want to give, what's important to my child, where they are, and where do they want their money to go. Not mom's money, not dad's money, not sister's money, their money, and what's important to you. And that's empowering. And it's empowering our kids to work hard, save hard, play hard, and give back. And what can be better than that? And isn't that what we want for our children, to grow up empowered about their earning
Yeah.
and to make good, well thought out choices? And what a great tool to do it.
Yeah. And John, outside of Tycoon, are we as a society setting up people for failure? Are we too profit focused and maybe not focused enough on the smaller, simple things around there? I mean, are there implications to this?
Yeah, I think, Horny just said it best in terms of, the generation that has gone out and felt entitled, and that it was a constant chase of temporary gratification. And I think what you've seen with that is that with technology, then you can see that somebody else has more than you. And so there's a big focus on that when you could reshape your perspective, and which is what's great about this technology. Kids are learning at an early age, and they're learning leadership skills, and they're learning that there's a lot more to life, that going after something you're passionate about and making an impact, that's what the real meaning is behind. And I think the positive in the last few years is that as a nation, we've realized that the money isn't always going to be there. And that's the same thing with budgeting and saving. And so there needs to be something more, a larger perspective we're shooting for. And that's been the positive, I really think, of the last few years, is bringing us back to earth and looking at each other to know the connection and the love I have with my family and friends. That's what's important.
Well spoken. We'll hang around, guys. I want to get a conclusion from each one of you. But first, next up, we've got an Ask the Expert segment. We took one of your mailbag questions that you sent us through email or Twitter, and we answered it with a local doctor. Stick with us for that. This week on our mailbag segment here on A Healthier Charlotte, I'm with Ann Groninger from BikeLaw.com. Tony from Matthews writes in and he says, what should I look for when I want to buy my first bicycle?
Well, when buying a first bicycle, you should do 3 things. First of all, do some research and figure out what kind of riding you want to do. Do you want to ride with your kids around the neighborhood? Do you want to get on a road bike? Do you want to ride competitively? Do you have an adrenaline fix and get a mountain bike? Find out what kind of riding you want to do. Second, go to your local bike shop. Your local bike shops are a great resource. They do a lot of advocacy work, a lot of work in the cycling community. You'll build a relationship with them. You'll make sure to get a bike with good components, that's put together well, that's going to serve you well for a long period of time. It doesn't make sense to skimp on a bike. Obviously, you want to find something that fits your budget. They'll help you do that. But you also want to get something that's going to last you a long time and be safe. The last thing you want to do, obviously, I have to throw in a plug for this, you want to find out the rules of the type of cycling that you're going to do. So if you're going to be on the road, learn how to ride safely, wear a helmet, do things that make common sense, find out what the rules are, and obey them, and you'll be safe and go have a great time.
And for a good bike, something that somebody can use every day, what ballpark should we be maybe looking to spend? How much money?
It really all depends what kind of cycling you want to do. You can buy a good commuter bike for a couple $100s, up to $1,000 or even more. For a road bike, you're going to have to spend a little bit more. For a mountain bike, somewhere in between that range. So it depends on what kind of riding you want to do, but don't skimp on the bike. Your own safety depends on it.
Good point.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys out on the road. Thanks for tuning in the mailbag. Let's get back to the show. Welcome back here to A Healthier Charlotte. Let's wrap up our guest panel here on financial health, starting with John Davis.
Thanks, Bobby. I think, one thing we're talking about with money and finance here is also related to our career opportunities. And I think a really important perspective to take away from this is that people should really focus on a career and a life that brings them joy and meaning. And to go after something that is meaningful and makes you feel authentic with your work, because that's going to bring more connection to your family and friends. And to have balance in your life and understand that there's something more, that it's not what you don't have, but it's that there's always someone less fortunate than you. And I think bringing that balance and perspective, that we can avoid future financial struggles and we will have more purpose-filled lives.
Well spoken. Good to have you back on the show, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mark Brunich.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for everyone's comments and feedback. We're really excited about, as I said, leveraging technology to change people's lives, to make their lives easier, more enriching, more fun, more balanced. We're trying to take the best of what's already there on the internet, social media, online banking and online finance, and also entertainment, kids gaming. And so we're trying to take all these elements that we see adults and kids kind of leveraging and we're trying to put something together that says, like, you can be a tycoon in a positive way. When we kicked off this project only 8 months ago, we sat in focus groups, and kids were asked, like, what is a tycoon? What does that mean to you? Almost all the kids said things like Steve Jobs, right, a great inventor, Bill Gates, a great entrepreneur, a great philanthropist now, all positive. So we want to tap into that notion of that positive kind of kid spirit, and then provide that level of interaction with parents and family to learn, to drive financial literacy, and then to create a generation of kids, a generation of tycoons that think differently and don't hopefully get into crises like we have.
Fascinating. Well, Mark, thank you. We're looking forward to seeing where Tycoon goes here in the future.
Me too. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Courtney Wardell.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks, guys, for letting me be a part of this. I think one of the big lessons that we have, and the big lesson we can give our families is that find your passion, find your joy. That doesn't have to be about money. It's great if you have a great job. It's great if you make a lot of money. But if there's no passion and joy in that, you really don't have much, and you're not bringing much back to your family. Sometimes those simple things really are the best. Hopping in your car and just driving around the neighborhoods to see the Christmas lights. Going out to the basketball goal. How many basketball goals do you see in your neighborhood that aren't being used? Take your kids out there and shoot around and laugh and have fun. There is a lot to that, and there is a lot that you can do with your families that create happiness and well-being that have nothing to do with money. And those are the memories that your kids are going to have and take forward.
Very well spoken. Also, Dr. Gaskill, close us out.
Well, my practice, Healthy Psych, our mission is to get psychology out to as many people as possible to enhance their lives, and we do it in a fun way. And the idea behind this is, how can these families and how can we as Charlotte tune up our families? How can spouses learn to communicate with each other and get stress and anxiety down to the point that they can model healthy financial decisions, healthy vocational goals and thoughts in marriages? How can you create an environment in which kids can grow up healthy and see healthy models so that they can maybe not run into the same mess that we've run into in recent years?
Absolutely. And Dr. Gaskill, you're a Tar Heel, so you're okay by me.
Oh, yes. Go Heels.
Thank you all very much for joining the panel this week. Very insightful stuff. That's all the time we have on A Healthier Charlotte this week. For the crew on the floor, for the panel guests here on Financial Health, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you next episode. In the meantime, you can go to healthiercharlotte.com for all sorts of exclusive health and wellness information relating to everything in and around Charlotte. I'm Bobby DeMuro, and this has been A Healthier Charlotte. Thanks for tuning in.